Hey, I want to talk to you a little bit about rebellion. It's a topic that nobody really wants to face or talk about because it's an excuse that is kind of enjoyed. In this world, this fallen world, rebellion is it's like a badge of honor. But you need to know some truths about rebellion. So I hope if you find yourself struggling with rebellion that you'll pay attention to this message, because rebellion really grows out of a negative attitude. And there are clues that you need to identify about rebellion within you so that you can attack it. Because rebellion, you know what? Rebellion is inherent within us, and it comes from our sin nature. And it requires you, as a result, to be hyper-focused in overcoming it, because it's going to feel unnatural to overcome rebellion, because rebellion becomes something that is woven into you, and you start to be blind to it. So I hope that this particular little, I don't know, however long this episode will be, will help you with rebellion, because rebellion, like I said, is inherent within us from our sin nature, and it requires that you be hyper focused on overcoming it. So your teacher here with regard to rebellion is the Israelites. Think about the Israelites when you reflect back on, reading the Old Testament. They were very rebellious, and their rebellion was obvious, and it was evident through their perpetual state of complaining. Right? And it ultimately led to them disobeying God and going against God, right? You've seen it. You know this. Their complaining led them to a negative attitude. And guess what their negative attitude led them to? Their negative attitude led them to, it caused them to rebel even more. So when allowed to grow, rebellion can erode your faith in God and what He's doing, even on your weight loss journey. It can cause you to think thoughts of giving up and turning back despite how far you have come. So you need to watch for it. You might want to write this down, what I'm going to share with you, because the path to open rebellion against God and against, the faith-filled journey that you are on right now as a seeker, it begins with some subtle things that you need to pay attention to. Open rebellion against God and the faith-filled journey that you're on, it really begins with a feeling of dissatisfaction and even skepticism or doubt. And it starts to move into complaining about your circumstances. I want you to think about this in the context of your weight loss journey. And soon after that, complaining then gives way to bitterness and even resentment. Some of you have, in our coaching calls, even shared with me these emotions when it comes to food. And it always, when you get to that point of bitterness and resentment, it always ends with, if you're not paying attention to it, it always ends in some sort of open hostility. So if you are dissatisfied, if you're skeptical and you're complaining, or you're even feeling bitterness, you need to be on guard. These attitudes lead to rebellion, and they can lead to a separation from God. I know it's not easy to hear this, is it? It's easy to see your own way when you're walking in rebellion. It's easy to see your own way as completely logical when you're walking in rebellion. So assess your heart with whatever matter you're dealing with right now. Assess your heart in all areas. And if you are struggling and you've been dissatisfied, if you've been doubtful or complaining or bitter, you need God's guidance more than ever. It's probably not going to be fun. He's going to convict you, but I'm telling you, that is where the path to freedom is from rebellion, even in weight loss.